Good evening, everybody. This is the Holistic Wellness meeting for January, and this meeting is being recorded. I'm Dr. Talmor. I'm a holistic doctor in Gainesville, Florida. The subject of this meeting is to get well is to get out of the box, and you'll understand at the end of the meeting what this title is all about. We're going to talk tonight about holistic and natural medicine. This is a very, very important subject, as you will see, that unfortunately relatively very, very few people know about it. And I believe from my long time experience that not knowing the information I'm going to give you tonight costs people a lot of unnecessary suffering, illness, expense, and unfortunately death. The principle of holistic medicines are pretty simple. It assumes several things that I strongly believe in from my long time experience. The first one is that the body has been designed perfectly. The body has unlimited capability to heal itself. I believe you cannot have illness that your body cannot heal in potential. If the body cannot heal itself, you cannot have it in the first place. The other part of this is that true healing happens only from your body, not from the outside. And that's only when the body truly heals, and we'll get into more details. So if we look at illness, you have to realize simple thing. Illness gives you symptoms, and the symptoms are not necessarily only manifestation that you have illness, but it also your body telling you that it's trying to heal itself, because the healing, self-healing mechanisms are already there and always were there. Symptoms actually are part of the manifestation of the healing process. However, the other side of it, that illness is an alarm system that tell us something has to be changed or we have to wake up. Because if our body is potentially perfect, we don't get sick because we're victim or we have bad luck, but because we have done some things that we discussed this evening, and sometimes without correcting at least part of the things that we have done wrong or which did not allow our body to heal itself, then we need to correct them to improve our chances for healing. And if it's severe illnesses, often if you don't change enough things that you've been doing, usually unknowingly, it will prevent you from getting well. Obviously, we don't get sick because our body is stupid or it's bad luck. When we don't do everything we need to do, which we'll talk about it tonight, you're going to suffer, and one of the consequences will be illness. It's very, very important to remember those things. So you're not just an accident. We knowingly or unknowingly or actually unconsciously, we assume that illness is some bad luck or something we have no control over. And as you'll understand tonight, if that's what you believe, nothing further for the truth. And also you have to understand something very, very important. It doesn't matter what you logically believe or you think you believe. If you have subconscious beliefs which are negative about your body, even if you don't realize them, the subconscious negative beliefs will prevail, and your body will listen more to your subconscious belief, but not to your conscious belief. That's very important to understand. Once we go over all the aspects of illness and healing, you will see that from a higher perspective, since there's really no accidents and we're truly not victim as most of us will assume, illness is always a form of blessing in disguise. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll understand why. Usually when people get over illness, especially if it's something that's considered severe or serious or dangerous like cancer, people that heal themselves, the body managed to heal itself, it's self-evident that the illness was actually a gift. In addition to what I said so far, there is another very, very important aspect of holistic health and wellness, and this is the body-mind connection. There is a direct and inseparable connection between the mind and the body. Actually, every health problem has corresponding emotional, mental, and spiritual issues that have caused or contributed to the illness. And that includes issues from the past, could be issues that we don't even remember that happened, or have been suppressed, or we think resolved but did not really resolve. Any illness or any problem in our life, for that matter, has some of these elements. And at the same token, once we get sick, obviously being sick, its suffering is stressful, which actually can aggravate state of mind, our mind, body, and spirit. So obviously it works both ways. That's the reason that often when people especially are very, very sick, it's not really feasible or possible for them to work on consciousness level, as we talk later. But the good news is that a lot of actually all truly holistic modalities that allow the body to heal from within or allow the body to do the job with appropriate support will automatically improve your emotional and mental state. It doesn't mean that actually you have to get well emotionally or deal with the emotional mental stress aspect of illness. However, once you get in a situation, or if you can work on that level, this is one of the main factors that can leverage your healing and speed up your healing, sometimes very, very dramatically. Another thing that it's important to understand why this part of body, mind, or emotional, mental, spiritual, or stress, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter, is because the only thing I believe that's eternal is our awareness, our consciousness. We never lose what we learn in life. Our body, we carry it only through this lifetime, but awareness and consciousness and spirit exist forever. So anything that we have improved this life, we have it for eternity. So there's always, especially in illness, not only, but especially in illness, there's always body-mind or spiritual mental connection. And of course, that's true for any problem in our life. So when you realize this aspect, and I talk about it in more details in other presentations in my book, Unconditional Healing, once you have this intellectual logic, really simple understanding, once you look at it, it's much easier to take control and to do all the things, including the things that I'm talking tonight and other things that you do in order to heal yourself, and even better to prevent disease and be just happier, healthy, and balanced person. So, as I say, from a holistic perspective, actually, and it may sound contradictory if you don't see this perspective, and most people and the conventional doctors don't really realize that it is a gift. And when you understand it's a gift and you know what to do about it and how to solve the problem, then it will enhance your healing and open the way for healing. On the other hand, if you resist your health problem, which I'll explain more later, everything that you resist, even with good intention, persists. And actually often, because of this misunderstanding, when people have health problems, they actually aggravate them or even prevent healing by resisting them, whether with the negative belief, again, conscious and subconscious, as well as the action that they take. Obviously, for example, the allopathic or so-called conventional medicine that use unnatural toxic chemicals to suppress the symptoms, which we'll get into more details. It's important to recognize in summary that your body has already all the resources needed for self-healing. And when you understand that, it'll be very helpful to take charge of your life and do what you need to do to help your body heal yourself. And that's what we get into more details tonight. And once you understand, it's much easier to understand that there are harmonious, natural, safe modalities that are in harmony with the body, that works in alignment, supporting the body, versus other type of health system like the allopathic system that actually try to save you by poisoning your body. And even though there are very important exceptions, most times it will do you more harm than good. Again, your body is perfect, and healing is really about supporting your body and limited healing rather than expecting for the miracle or the miracle pill or something that will save you from the outside. And unfortunately, even subconsciously, because our upbringing, which is based on general belief system of victim and victim solution, which I expand in my book and other lecture I have posted on the internet, and I'll repeat in the future, once you understand that, it opens a whole new potential for healing, not only physically, but also emotionally, mentally, spiritually, thus improving the quality of your life in general. It always goes together. Let's talk and explore what is this unlimited healing potential that your body had all about. As I say, holistic medicine uses modalities that support and enhance the natural healing processes, and there are many, many, many of them, from nutrition, herbs, homeopathy, chiropractic, natural energy regeneration, massage, bodywork, and many, many, many others, which we mentioned some, and I'll get into more details in other presentation. When you address the issue that causes illness and help your body with these natural modalities, your chances for healing are exponentially increased, and they're much, much better. All of us are very familiar, I'm sure, with conventional medicine, also known as allopathic medicine. Conventional medicine is great diagnosing, putting label on disease, naming it, and then once they do that, they use toxic substances that we call drug, also surgery and radiation, to suppress the symptoms. Because of lack of understanding, almost all the time we'll focus on suppressing the symptoms with toxic substances. So basically they're trying to poison your body to heal it, which can make sense in rare conditions, could be actually life-saving, in trauma, for example, or when you have extreme symptoms that actually can cause death, like if you have fluid in your lung or heart attack. However, I want to mention in parentheses that if holistic or enough holistic practitioners, a lot of conditions that you have to go to the emergency room and they're life-threatening, not all, but many of them can be totally remedied with natural, safe modalities and non-invasive. But that's just a note which I've seen a lot in my practice over the years. But again, don't throw the baby with the water, with the bath. Be aware that sometimes, especially if you don't have access to somebody that can help you, do go to the emergency room and check and get conventional medicine help. As I say, the downside in most cases is almost always, especially in chronic condition, more detrimental than beneficial, because the weakness and the toxicity and the damage to the body eventually lower the body ability to maintain itself, to keep itself healthy. That's one of the reasons that number one cause, if you take the whole reasons for death and illness, number one, I have absolutely no doubt that is conventional medicine, because bear in mind that a lot what happened to people, especially in older age, but not only, is the results of slow degeneration accelerated by years of drugs and weakening your body with surgery, which most time, not all, is unnecessary, preventable, because there are better, safer alternatives. And you will see how this all comes together. So just be aware of it, and don't assume, like most people, because lack of information, that medicine is like the magic fairy that will come and save you if you get sick. I just want to mention something when we talk about conventional medicine, because we've been indoctrinated, and again, even if it's subconscious, it doesn't matter. Most of us has been indoctrinated to believe, oh, don't worry, you're sick, you pay the health insurance, most people, so if you get sick, no problem, the doctor will save you. Unfortunately, nothing is further from the truth. And even though it pays for our hospital surgery in most cases, the collateral damage, financial damage, suffering will be much more than the money we saved by going and paying the doctor, even though the insurance pay. Ultimately, the price we pay in all modalities, including financial, much higher. But because we're so brainwashed to accept, without even realizing that somebody will save us, unfortunately, in most cases, nothing is further than the truth. All right, so if we compare the results of allopathic medical care, it's excellent suppressing symptoms, which, as you will understand, is not really true healing. Yes, you get well and maybe even help you to get well, but it prolonged the period of illness and debilitation compared to the holistic modalities. Of course, there is danger of side effects. And as I said, the long-term weakness of the body, which I'll expand into more details a little later. The total result is that even though it may help you in the short term or relieve your symptoms as short term, there is a price that you pay, and ultimately it will contribute to poor health, aging, and suffering in the long run. And again, it can be life-saving, trauma, and some rare emergencies. In complete contradiction to allopathic medicine, the advantage of holistic medicine is usually a much faster recovery. For example, when I use natural modality like homeopathy, it's very interesting because in children, sometimes you see 5 to 20 minutes like a different child. In adults, instead of using antibiotic and being weakened for a week or two and having all kind of long-term problems for a while, people within few days are much, much better. So obviously the processes when you support your body naturally, you just heal much faster. Obviously there is no toxicity, or the toxicity is so limited that studies show that at least 100,000 times safer than any medication. Just keep in mind that according to the mainstream medicine, there are 100,000 people dying every year in a hospital, not from overdose, not from the wrong medication, just from the usual dosage that gave them. That's admitted. So you draw your own conclusion. Because you help your body heal naturally, the end results of holistic treatment is your body is healthier. So your long-term health and longevity will improve. And I see it very often on people that were lucky and were more aware, or luckily their parents or the culture they're in avoided doctor, use only natural things like homeopathy, herbs, and generally speaking, they're much better helped relatively to the average person that did drop medication all his lives and so forth. So it improved the general health of your body. And another very interesting phenomena, because your body and mind is connected, whenever you use natural meaning of healing, automatically, sometimes it's subtle, sometimes quite dramatic, but there's always, it supports and enhances your emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. And that's another important difference, which in my view is maybe crucial. If our body is so perfect as I've been talking about, why we get sick? What causes our body to age? So let's look at these factors. There are 6 main factors that cause our body to degenerate. Obviously, the most important is food and water, because we need to eat and drink to exist. And actually, this is a subject for a whole lecture, which I'll give in the future. I hope eventually to cover all this subject. So just to mention briefly, genetically modified food. If you don't know anything about it or heard something about it, I urge you to go online, do a search, see the movies that are on YouTube. Jeffrey Smith has excellent movies and interviews that explained it. It's very, very serious situation. It's literally, when you understand the implication, it's mind-boggling, literally, that the government will allow that. And if you study it and investigate it, you understand why. And that's not the only thing, but it's important. And I find out that many people that don't know anything about holistic are totally oblivious. So I highly recommend that you check it, because if you consume GMO, genetically modified food, you're guaranteed to weaken your body and contribute to illnesses and premature disease, illness, and death, and of course aging. Chemicals in the food, and I mean, it's pretty obvious, you have to educate yourself. Microwave cooking. Many people use microwave. This is really important because relatively few people, even people that know about holistic health, use microwave. I tell my patients only one reason to use microwave other than convenience is wanting to be sick. Every time you use microwave food, and it doesn't matter if you warmed your water or coffee or whatever for a few seconds, you create precancerous changes when you drink it in your white cells in the blood. That's proven scientifically. Plus, you energetically totally mess up your solar plexus and your body. And again, if you intentionally stay healthy, you absolutely want to get rid of it. Fluoride in the water, in your toothpaste. That's not the natural fluoride, but it's sodium fluoride, which is very, very toxic. Again, you need to go online, educate yourself, please. Don't drink city water with fluoride. Processed foods, and this is just a small list. On my website, drtalmor.com, there is suggestion for better health, and you can basically, it has a list of outline of healthy foods and what you want to avoid and so forth. But educate yourself if you're not. Next one is stress. Actually, for the reason I already explained, this is very, very important. It also gives you most leverage toward healing. I will briefly talk about it, but I can tell you one thing. My story of getting to holistic medicine, I covered in other lectures, and I won't get into it, but basically it came out from the realization that emotional and mental issues deeply affect people's health. And when I realized I started to work on that level, for many years until '89, I exclusively, when I was working in emergency medicine, I spent many time training and taught thousands of people from all walks of life, including prisoners in a state prison, to heal themselves just using the mind through personal growth visualization. And I've seen so many people healed from illness, from cancer to heart disease to mental illness, that as a conventional doctor, if anybody ever told me, I would have never believed it if I didn't see it with my own eyes. And that actually helped me to get further into other aspects of holistic health, which I'm talking today. But I tell my patient, this will always, if you can, and if you feel like it, will give you most leverage toward healing and speed up your healing. Next cause is heavy metals. It's a subject to a whole different lecture because many people have heavy metals, dental mercury, that you're told it's safe. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's like they tell you that GMO food and microwave food is safe. You need to learn about it. I'll just give you a simple fact. Unfortunately, heavy metals used to be in the early 50s embraced by conventional medicine because they found out that chelation of heavy metals, which helps the circulation dramatically. In fact, you probably can prevent 90% of heart attacks, stroke or better, and 99.99% of all bypass surgeries if everybody had access to chelation. All of us have heavy metals. I haven't seen one person in my many years of practicing. We check heavy metal level in the urine after chelation. I haven't seen one don't have heavy metals. The statistical work and the information accumulated since the 50s is in prospective studies that removing heavy metals in chelation, like EDTA chelation, for example, not only decrease death and mortality of main reasons like heart attack and stroke, but also reduce mortality and morbidity of cancer by 70 to 90%, and so on and so on. We may have a chance to talk briefly further, but something that if you don't know, you really want to explore. Another subject that very few people are aware yet, they're starting to be aware, is pollution of EMF, radio frequency, and electromagnetic frequency. This is very, very important. I will dedicate specific webinar to this issue, and I already have one webinar on my website. Next one is chemical pollution, pesticide, herbicide, personal care products that are all laced with chemical toxins, all the soaps, unless they're organic, natural, and so on. And the rule should be nothing that you can put in your mouth, you shouldn't put on your skin, because skin absorbs everything you put on. Energetic trauma is extremely important. I'm going I will go into a little more details further in the lecture, but each one of those the best I can. If you understand and study all the things, you also will understand much better what you have done to create illness and contribute to illness, and if you're still healthy, hopefully, what can reduce your risk of illness in older age from, like, probably you can see that 90% of the population is sick on medication after 60 years old. So it should be the opposite. 90% should be perfectly healthy at 90 years of age if they incorporated many of these things. Before we go further into these issues, let me give you some point and perspective that will help you understand disease and healing and holistic medicine. When you talk about all these issues that I just mentioned, you have to be really aware of something very important. Each one of us is totally different. So, for example, if this is the famous bell curve, statistical distribution, so let's say we talk about EMF pollution. It's very harmful to the body. However, some people be very, very sensitive. So, for example, I had a lady that she talked on the cell phone 3 minutes, and first time in her life, she was sick for 6 months. took her 6 months to recover. Somebody else talk on the cell phone 5, 10 years before they get brain tumor, and they'll never make the connection. Another example, if you have seen the movie Super Size Me, it's a story of a guy that ate 3 super burgers a day, and within 1 month started to develop liver failure. If he continued, he certainly would have died from liver failure. Now, obviously, his body couldn't handle junk food. Now, I had a patient that drank 28 diet sodas, which are highly toxic. I repeat, 28 diet sodas, and he drank 3 quarts of coffee a day. He was very robust construction worker. It took him 20 years before he got very, very sick with lupus. So my point is that if you look at all these systems, each one of us have different sensitivity. Also, it's really important to understand that if you have an illness, let's say cancer, MS, or what have you, take 10 people with the same diagnosis, the main reason for the illness could be totally different. Obviously, it's usually more than one issue that weakens your body. But let's say, for example, that stress is the main reason that you got sick. You have very little chances to get well no matter what you do unless you handle the stress properly. And again, I've seen people that stress killed them in a few months, and some people have stress for 56 years before they get sick. Again, you see the distribution of sensitivity varies from person to person. Now, why it's very important to understand this? For the simple reason that if you have a health problem, you have to check and see what's going on in your universe, in your health. What are the possible reasons? Sometimes it's pretty obvious what is the reason. Because if you don't do that, what happens is like the story of this person with terminal cancer go somewhere and do this magic, wonderful, healthy diet, gets well. 10 other people with the same cancer, the same progression, go to the same program, and they don't get well. Why? Because for them, there was other issues. And this is why it's very, very important. And in my practice, I custom it to every patient. Another aspect is that if you remove the main issues for the illness, then you have much better chance to heal and, or at least improve your quality of life. The other fact is that they'll be the most effective for the effort, the energy, the money that you put into healing. Now, sometimes it's obvious what the reason. Sometimes people intuitively know what it is and they tell you, so you can focus more on the main cause or the major causes. And sometimes it's just kind of trial and error and exploration, like detective work. But if you find the main things and willing to do what it takes, I believe there's really no illness. I don't care what the doctors tell you, there is a good chance or better chance of healing. And I've seen people that send home to die for hospice and totally recover. I'm not saying everybody, because everybody is unique. Not everybody wants or can or will do what it takes. But in principle, healing is unlimited, literally. And that actually gives you another perspective. The other reason is important because we so indoctrinated to believe that we're victim and we look into the magic pill. Sometimes we easily go on this fad, without really investigating and seeing the old picture. And the result, we just run around, do a lot of things, spend a lot of money, energy, but don't get good results or enough results that we expected. And this is exactly one of the reasons. This is why it's really important to understand this perspective. Another perspective which will also give us better understanding of what health is all about is the following picture. This shows you the degree of energy that you have. You're born with high energy. You're very full of energy. Children, we know that heal very fast, heal much faster, respond better, especially to holistic treatments. However, what happened with all the issues that we discussed, slowly but surely as you age, our body weakens. The energetic reserve that we have continue to decline. Now, we still feel good. And another aspect of that is really important to understand, to see things in the right perspective, is that your body, especially when you're talking about a process that is very slow degeneration because of any of the factors mentioned before, the issues, your body, as it degenerates slowly, it's such an incredible miracle. It's unbelievable miracle, literally, if you really understand it, because you need to be aware that you can have 90% of your lung destroyed before you even develop any difficulty breathing. So these people smoke and they laugh at you for 40, 50 years, then within a short period of time they decompensate. You have COPD. You can have 99% of your coronaries blocked before you fall dead from heart attack. I have in medical school one of the most dramatic cases I've ever seen that I understood years later. There was this Supreme Court judge and he was in a geriatric hospital, and his story was that one day he started to act funny. And this was a major Supreme Court judge in my country that was very famous, very respected. He started to act funny. So they did an MRI, and it was an amazing picture. His brain was like a Swiss cheese, where maybe 90% almost of his brain was totally destroyed. So it took 90% of the brain to be destroyed to start acting funny. So this just shows you how miracle is your body. Often, we think we're okay, but we're not really, and the reserve goes down. Eventually, when it goes to a certain threshold, your body cannot take it anymore, and then illness develops. Now, obviously, if it's simple acute illness, it's easier to bounce back, but if it's serious illness, if you don't bounce back, you go all the way down, and then you just pass away. Now, something very interesting, another aspect to understand. In this yellow zone, this is a zone that you think you're okay, or something you don't feel right, but you go to the doctor, he cannot diagnose anything. Once you have illness, then all of a sudden, most times you can, they can do MRI, CAT scan, blood test, X-ray, and they diagnose. Now, there is a difference, interesting difference between male and female. Women work more on the endocrine system, the conception, the front meridian that control the endocrine. So women are more sensitive, emotional, intuitive. They're more in touch with their feeling because the feeling are connected to the endocrine system. And they often start to complain where the body is out of balance energetically and it's already damaged, but the doctor don't have with their tool, cannot yet pinpoint and know what's going on. They say, oh, you're depressed, take Prozac, or you're a woman, discount it. Men, on the other hand, work more on the organ reserve, less on the endocrine, so they're less intuitive in general, the generalization, less feeling. They say, they go, I'm okay, I have no problem. And usually men, when they get sick, it's often more dramatic, like they all of a sudden fall from heart attack, stroke, full of cancer. The manifestation is more acute and dramatic because they're less in touch with their body. Once you get sick and you get below the threshold, actually all you have to do to resolve the illness is to go back up above the black line here, or the threshold, hopefully above the yellow area, because then you will be better off, because you see life is going to be up and down and you can eliminate downslides. However, if you're high enough, as long as you stay above the black line and hopefully above the red line, then you can die at 90, 100, 120 or whatever, happy and joyful, and you don't have to suffer illness. So this is very important to understand. Now again, I reiterate, everybody is different. It may take different things to do or different issues to solve and support for different people in order to get to this level where they won't be sick anymore, and hopefully if they're high enough in the energetic level, they'll never get sick again. That gives you additional perspective. So to summarize, basically health is about a balance. When you're in the yellow zone, as we saw previously, it doesn't take much stress to get you sick. If the negative forces, the one that wear down and reduce the energy of the body, deplete the energy of the body, versus they're pretty much balanced. So you're very precarious condition. You can get sick on and off easily, and eventually, if the red gets strong enough, you cannot recover. On the other side of the balance, the more you increase the support for your body and remove the red issues, then the stronger your body is. And then you tilt the balance and you're healthy. This is health zone. You cannot be sick. Now, I'm talking a lot about energy, and again, there are other lectures that you can learn more about energy. But the reason your body is so resilient is because your body is energy matrix, and your body is extremely complex information system which communicates. All the organs communicate. Chinese medicine covered to a certain degree, Western medicine totally ignorant. but every organ in your body support the other systems. So your body has a very, very intricate way to make up for damage. I'll just give you an example. Doctors are very quick to get the prostate. I mean, you're not going to die. Maybe you have a problem with the sexual activity, but it's no big deal. Oh, women, you're not in birth giving. Let's take off the uterus. Nothing can be further, wrong than that, because the uterus and the prostate, for example, support all the main organ, all the endocrine system. So the moment you do that, on the long run, you weaken certain systems. I can tell you all kinds of stories, and doctors don't know that. Now, of course, the weakness can manifest later, but the point is that all these intricate communications and support make it possible that your body has a system that can make up for unbelievable amount of damage. So again, when you look up at illness, the opposite happens. You have all these issues and your body is depleted and your body cannot take it anymore, and then you have illness zone. So all it is, it's about balance between good energy function of your body and poor energy function or depletion of energy. Your body cannot work energetically. It's exhausted. And again, everything you do in holistic medicine improves the energy in general, without practically any exceptions, if used properly, if you know what you're doing. On the other hand, conventional medicine maybe can help you in certain situations, but it mostly will wear down your body to the other side of the scale, which increase your risk of getting into illness zone. Few other perspective of wellness that you have. Another important point of view. In order to understand how disease is developed, you want to know about the Herring law of cure and illness. That was a very famous homeopath, and incidentally, homeopathy, 25% of the doctors by the turn of the century were homeopath. They're famous homeopathic medical school like Hahnemann Medical School. What happened is that after this First World War in Europe and here, the drug companies, through collusion, and you can check the history, basically shut down homeopathic medicine, even though homeopathic medicine had much, much better than the allopathic medicine, dramatically better, but again, they shut them down. Without getting into details, you may want to learn about it yourself, and I'll briefly explain you homeopathy to see why it's so advantageous compared to allopathic for many, many conditions. Not everything, but a lot of things. Herring's law of cure say that progression of illness and healing have opposite directions. How disease progresses in our body? It progresses from the periphery to the center, from the outside or skin to the inside of the body, from a less vital organ to a more vital organ, from the body to the mind. The progression of healing in the opposite direction. It goes from the mind to the body, from more vital organ to a less vital organs, from the inside of the body to the outside, from the center to the periphery. Let me give an example that will clarify what he's talking about. As I said before, allopathic medicine using chemical poisons to treat the body. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have a rash. Rash typically is something that the body pushes outside in the process of healing. So you go to the doctor, you have a little rash and itching, and the doctor says, oh, you have allergic reaction. So he gives you steroid packs. What is steroid? Steroids are synthetic hormones, and what they do, they block the receptors in all the cells of our body, the natural receptors, that are activated by the hormones that are sex hormone, are hormones that regulate the sugar metabolism, the hormones that regulate the electrolyte metabolism. So the result, they weakens your body. Now it's interesting to know that if you look at the medical books, you find out that steroids, potential side effects, are anything from schizophrenia to cancer and anything in between. Now again, where they're going to act depends on our predisposed weakness. Let's say you're lucky or unlucky, depends how you look at it, and you don't have a reaction, and then you don't touch steroids for the rest of your life. And you're very happy because symptoms went away, but really what happens, the price the body pays for the suppression of toxicity, in order to handle it, the weakness was pushed deeper into your body. The weakness now is settled in your body, and of course, as we saw before, there are other issues that can weaken our body. And also keep in mind that each one of us, for many reasons, have different predisposition to one illness or one system and not another. So for the sake of example, let's say one person have weak connective tissue. Those are the people going to develop most likely connective tissue disease, arthritis, and so forth. Somebody else, the lung is the weak system in the body, so they're more likely to develop COPD and lung problems. Now, the weakness may not manifest for weeks, months, and many years after taking the steroids. So now let's say you have asthma or somebody else has arthritis. Now you take poison medication to suppress the symptoms of arthritis or asthma. Maybe they're under control, hopefully, but now they may be better, but now you have ulcer from the medication. So now you take ulcer medication, hopefully the ulcer is better, so now you poison with this medication the liver. You cannot live without the liver, but you can live without your stomach. So you talk about vital, less vital, more vital organ. Now the example going to the mind from the body is very interesting, that I know that schizophrenics, extremely rare that schizophrenic patients get cancer. They just get crazy. Now, in the healing process, the opposite can happen. When you use natural means, like homeopathy, for example, which stimulate energetically the healing process of your body, they support the healing process of your body, sometimes you see what we call healing reaction, aggravation, detoxification. Not aggravation because you're getting worse, but all symptoms that were suppressed actually can come out to the surface, usually in a mild form, and generally the patient feels better anyway. However, that's a sign of healing, because now your body allowed to handle whatever been suppressed. So for example, you have a lot of throat infection in childhood and you took a lot of antibiotics, which suppresses the infection. Now, in the healing process, in acute conditions or any condition, give natural modalities like homeopathy, and then you start to have a little problem, slight problem with your throat, which is basically the body heals this organ that's been suppressed. Or for example, I have many cases. One of them, somebody came for acute condition. I treated him homeopathically, and he comes after 2 weeks. He said, "Oh, I did great. I felt better. But you know, something interesting happened. After a week, I had rash coming out from my system, exactly like I had 20 years ago, and they gave me steroids, and then it went away. I feel great." So that can happen in holistic medicine. It's rarely a problem. If it's too strong, you can slow down. There's means to deal with it. But either way, it's 100,000 times safer than any danger of reaction to medicine and so forth. So that's really important to understand, because anytime you take medication, you pay a price. It doesn't come free for your body as far as the end results of your general health on the long run. Now, those of you that don't know anything about homeopathy, let me just explain briefly, and you can find your own information on homeopathy. But why homeopathy is useful? It works on the principle that like cures like. What it means, when you have illness, as we mentioned before, it's a manifestation of your body trying to heal itself. Also, it's a manifestation of the energetic work of the body, because your body, everything that happens in the body is the end result of energetic processes. The biochemistry, the physiology is really the secondary, the end results of energetic processes. And again, I cover it in another lectures. Because symptoms are the manifestation of healing, the idea is like cures like, which means that any substance that will cause that illness when you're healthy, those symptoms of illness when you're healthy, can be potentially a cure. Actually, allopathic doctors use it probably without understanding why. They use the medicine digoxin. Digoxin is made from a natural plant and actually can stop your heart from beating and poison your heart. However, what they do, they give very tiny amounts of the medications, and they make sure to monitor the levels in the blood, because if they give too much, you kill the heart. The patient dies. So that's an example. You give small amount to cure something that creates the same issue, and they give it for weak heart and for disturbances of the rhythm of the heart. Homeopathy goes beyond giving substances that are toxic. Instead of giving the toxic substance, they dilute it in water. Shake it and dilute it so much in water. It's very interesting to understand water. I cover it in another lectures on energy. that water is information system. So when you dilute 1 to 10 or 1 to 100 or whatever so many times, the substance, even if it's very toxic, the dilution is so high that there's no molecules statistically left in the solution, but the energy, the information from the substance is there. So then you can give it to the body energetically. So I'll give you a simple example. If you eat the belladonna plant, you will have high fever, hallucinations, red face, dilated pupils. Now, obviously, when you have very high fever, certain acute infections, you can have the same symptoms. So we have what we call belladonna picture. So you can go to the doctor and get antibiotics and be sick for a week or several weeks and be weak and take your time to recover. Or you take the right remedy, in this case belladonna, not only did you get much better overnight and heal within a few days, the end result, you're healthier. But again, the belladonna, which in a regular form will cause the symptoms, you gave it energetically, and that basically stimulated the energetic mechanism of the body, manifests as those symptoms, to heal much, much faster. So homeopathy is safe when used correctly, totally harmless, and has many uses in acute condition and just helping your body energetically to heal. You can learn, take advantage of it because it's totally harmless, and you can even learn about it yourself and use it for self-help. So this is very important. Another aspect, give you another understanding, better understanding in health, healing, and what kind of choices you can make. Let's go briefly, expand a little bit about the main issue we mentioned before, that are the causes of illness. I'll give you a more helpful information, some resources to study. So the main one is water and food, as I say. So I already told you about food, and I will have specific lecture on that. Food is important. Water is very, very important because water is information system in our body and in nature. You can live without food for weeks and months, some people years, but you cannot live without water because water is information system, is the hard drive, and I cover it in more detail in other lectures. So water is very, very important. One thing that people really don't know, that water, because it's information system, energetically, the best water that you can consume is spring water or artesian well when it comes by its own force, and preferably water from your local area. And again, I covered all details in other lecture. So that's optimal water. Now, which water you want to avoid? City water, they have chloride and fluoride. Check it out, especially if you don't know anything but fluoride. Very important. Any electronic gadget, we change the water electronically, like make the water acid, alkaline. Again, it doesn't mean it doesn't help people, but it's like allopathic medicine. You put misinformation and you give your body misinformation. So even though it have positive effect, in the long run, it'll have negative effect, and I highly discourage of anybody using it. You know, a conventional medicine, I'm not saying that sometimes you take medication, you feel better for a while, or your blood pressure goes down, but I guarantee you, take it long enough, months or years, you will suffer the consequences, you just won't make the connection. Similar to the example I used before. Distilled water. Many people use distilled water believing it's good. It absolutely not. Again, water is information system. My next lecture on energy and biosyntony, I'll get into more detail in this subject. Very important to understand because water is the substance of life. Systems that use magnets. Again, I'm going to get in more details next lecture. Of course, water heated with microwave. If you have to filter water, use only activated charcoal, and some rare filters have ceramics that are not magnets, or just simple ceramics. Those will be okay. But other than that, you want to drink spring water. Again, the world is not perfect, and there is problem with bottled water, especially if they're plastic and if you keep them in a hot space like in your car. Again, there are ways to mitigate it, but again, I'll cover this in next lecture. Most likely I'll cover more details in all these subjects. But that's something most people not aware. It's very important to be aware. A lot of water that is sold today with very fancy names is actually changed electronically, or filtered, it's not good water, or reverse osmosis is not good because it changes the natural contact in the water. And again, I'll get into all more details in other lecture next time. Food, again, we talk about chemicals. If you don't realize yet, all the artificial colors in your food, preservative, a lot of, by the way, toxic stuff is labeled as natural flavors. So you have to watch. The GMO includes corn, soy, sugar, canola. There are rare ones like, I believe, pineapple from Hawaii. Another big problem that most people don't realize, even though they realize GMO, but I'll mention it because it's really important. All animals today, from farm-raised fish to chicken and beef, are fed with GMO, alfalfa, and corn. Now, what happened, if you haven't educated yourself, haven't heard about the Roundup corn and all this stuff, educate yourself. But basically, when you eat this meat, not only that you eat animals that have been sickened and poor health, but also the genetic content of your bacteria, normal bacteria in your gut changes, and they start to create Roundup, which is a very toxic chemical herbicide. And that causes holes in the cells, and you have what it's known as leaky gut syndrome. You see, when your gut mucosa or lining of the gut is not healthy, you actually expose your body to substances that create allergies, food sensitivities, autoimmune disease, and cancer. Be aware today, because of the alfalfa now that they feed stock, if you want to be sure that anything that doesn't have GMO, you want to eat only organic meat or fish if you're a meat eater, because nothing is really safe. And again, it's all adds up. Unfortunately, you go to a restaurant, you eat meat, you won't get organic food, organic meat. And if it is even grass-fed beef, if you're not sure they didn't feed it with genetically modified alfalfa, you really don't want to eat it. So that's a big issue. And of course, food that's grown with chemical fertilizer, pesticides have 90 to 99% less of the nutritional substances and vitamins essential for the body. So to make a long story short, you really want to stay with organic food if possible, nothing else. Processed food should be avoided because all of them have some kind of corn syrup. It's something that's genetically modified. So watch out if you want to get a tiny bit into the politics. Incontrovertible studies that show the danger, extreme danger of GMO food. In fact, rats that were fed not for 6 weeks, but for the life duration of their longevity, which was like a year or two, have 100% tumors. And this was totally suppressed in the media in the United States. It was suppressed for a while in Britain, but then it was published, and then within a few weeks, 600 publications in Europe gave the information, and people just stopped buying anything GMO, and they stopped selling GMO in Europe. However, in the United States, I guess the media works better for these companies than for you, and you draw your own conclusion. Again, it's important to know, because the bottom line, if you don't listen, you exponentially increase your risk of getting sick eventually. Now, it's up to you I tell people, getting sick doesn't make you wrong or bad. It's just an experience that gives you opportunity. And doctors need to make living. I'm the last one to complain, but I prefer that people prevent illness and stay as healthy as possible than the other way around. Again, you have on my website link to nutrition, give you general information. Heavy metals, I actually went into more details. It's very important. I just wanted to point out that mercury is very, very important. Even if you have your mercury removed, unfortunately, most people go to a non-holistic or non-mercury dentist, which exposes them to more mercury. If you have mercury and you go to clean your teeth every 6 months, you basically brush, they shine your mercury and put more mercury in your system. Mercury evaporates at room temperature. Your mouth is more than room temperature, so you continuously release mercury, which establishes in your tissues. And if you just educate yourself on mercury, you'll see in the reference of Suggestion Better Health, read about mercury. There's no illness in the medical and psychiatric books that cannot be caused by mercury. The reason I'm mentioning that, two reasons. First, you can ignore the mercury and just do the chelation for lead and the other substances, which is EDTA. And if you read the book, Bypassing the Bypass of 40-something Forever, it's a must read if you haven't. Even if you forget about the mercury, you can still improve your life. It's really important to understand when you deal with the mercury how to do it, to the right dentist. You have to prepare yourself, and the whole protocol that if done safely, properly, it's absolutely safe. But many people or even practitioners don't really know to do it safely, and people get in trouble. I've never seen one trouble since '95. So if you're really, really serious about being healthy, you want to investigate further, and you can always contact me for more information. I have a little summary protocol that educates you. You can ignore it. You still can benefit a lot from EDTA, and everybody should have the EDTA. But if you're really serious about health, you should educate yourself and learn about mercury and how to remove it and detoxify it properly. And again, here I want to be clear that there's certain conditions, sometimes like MS, that if you don't handle the mercury, your chances of you can improve and delay the progression, but certain illnesses, mercury is such an important factor that in order to really get totally well, you have to address the mercury. So I just put it in your file this information for your own good, and somebody that you give the information can save life. So again, the mercury, I explained, this is the books 40 something forever and bypassing the bypass. There is a reference for my list on my website that you can order these books. There are also other, not as fast and not as effective, but if you don't have access to proper chelations, EDTA and mercury, there's still other simple things that you can do. They'll take much, much longer to heal, to have the same effect, but again, it's better to do something, and there's always other solution, even though they may take much longer to resolve. Incidentally, I just wanted to mention that one of the big problems that didn't really stress in this lecture, I will just mention briefly, and I'll go into more details the next lecture in next couple of 3 weeks. Just stay tuned to my website and my email, and you will know. I will get into more details, but one of the things that heavy metals do, they not only, especially mercury, but not only mercury, will predispose you for Lyme disease, chronic condition, cancer, but also to sensitivity to electromagnetic and radio frequencies. That's very interesting. I had people, every of their family on all sides died by age 60 from heart attack, and they're 80 in perfect health because they do this kind of chelation. And in general, it prolongs your life by at least 10 to 30 years, healthier years. It can improve a lot of conditions other than circulations, the chelation, but general health really improve from every aspect. EMF pollution. Now, this is upcoming problem. I have been aware of this for 14 years. Unfortunately, today with all the Wi-Fi around, it's even more serious problem. Cell phones, Wi-Fi, portable phones. I'm going to get into more details next lecture. They have one posted online. So I'm just going to go very, very briefly. Those of you that it's new for them, all I can really strongly urge you to wake up. As I said before, very briefly, water is information system. When you crystallize water from nature that's exposed to natural wave, you have beautiful snow-like crystallization. And when you take polluted water, when you freeze the water, the crystallization is very ugly, non-symmetrical. And I'll give you much more details in the next lecture. Now, when you take water in a natural form, then expose them to mobile phone, microwave, telephone, television, and computer, you see the crystallization becomes ugly and non-symmetrical. Since the water is information system, it's to build the hard drive of natural system, and it's essential because without the information, your body cannot function. When you eat microwave food, exposed to the cell phone, TV, and all these gadgets, Wi-Fi, it gives misinformation to the water. So it'll be the equivalent of accumulating corrupted files and viruses in your computer. So again, depends on sensitivity, but you will pay the price, I guarantee you. You may not be aware of it. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, but more and more people are becoming very sensitive to electromagnetic. They actually get sick if they go near cell phone antenna or near smart meter or near the cell phone, and that's a whole new issue. But people have to wake up because under some projection, this is much, much, much worse Then the cigarette problem that took many years to realize that it's not good for you. They've been advertising it years ago. Your doctor recommends it's good for your health and so forth, good for stress. Cell phone antenna are a major problem because they're all over the place. Go to antennasearch.com, put your address and see how many you have, how near they are. I already have a lecture online that I encourage you to watch, and I'm going to give another lecture with a little more, hopefully more details and more information next time. When you put your cell phone to your head, it's the equivalent of microwaving your brain. Within 2 minutes, it's opened the blood-brain barrier and causes chemicals that shouldn't be in the brain, because your brain is sensitive tissue, to enter your brain. Those chemicals or proteins are normal in your body and they go in and out, but the brain has protection from them. That's so-called blood-brain barrier. So within 2 minutes, you allow substances to get into your brain. Now again, I've seen people getting sick immediately and having other problem in their body because your brain controls everything. I've seen brain tumors. I've seen 2 people with MS from that. But the point is that you never want to put your cell phone to your head. Under no circumstances. Use a headset free with air tube, not the wire one. Actually, just can amplify the pollution or put it directly to your brain, and the Bluetooth actually allows your brain to be cooked continuously. So it's really important. That includes putting your cell phone on your body. You're basically cooking your body. I've seen people lost a kidney. I've seen people have pancreatic cancer. Depends on where you put it. You're cooking your organs with microwave. So listen, can save your life. I have a couple of months ago, a patient had MRSA from cell phone. He was put in a deep pocket. It was in construction. I'll get into more details next lecture, and I have more details already posted online. Chemical toxicity, it's obvious. There is a lot of chemical in the environment. If you put herbicide, pesticide in your home or in your garden, you're poisoning the environment, poisoning yourself. Chemical preservative are poisons from all the artificial sweeteners, preservatives, body lotions, as I mentioned, heavy metals. There are chemicals in the CFL lamps that are very, very dangerous. They have mercury. If they break, you have environmental disaster. If you cut yourself, you have wound that won't heal for months. Plastic that leaches to the food from water container. They're actually specific plastic that you can check online that are more toxic. They're numbered on the bottom, so you want to learn which one are relatively safer. And chemtrails is environmental toxicity, and I'm not going to get into it, but if you haven't heard the word chemtrail, you really want to be aware, because you see certain things like chemtrail, until enough people wake up and they stop doing it, and that's also why it's important for people to know what they are. Basically, it's deliberate chemical pollution of micro, nano, aluminum, and barium, which are toxic, and other things. It's excellent movies and information on the line. The reason is, first you need to know, so hopefully enough of us will know, we'll tell our government to wake up for our own sake. But the point also is that you're not in a perfect world. And when you have pollution, you have no control. But if you do most of the things that I said, your body can handle unbelievable amount as long as you do your part. You have much better chance to be affected. And if you're not, you're just, another risk factor. The last but not least, which is very important to understand, and it's energetic trauma, which if you remember, just to show you again, this was the last one. Energetic trauma. Now, this is very important. Because our body, as I mentioned before, is an energetic system, it's a lot of things that happen to us cause not only physical trauma, but also energetic trauma. I'll mention the main one: surgery, general anesthesia, local anesthesia. The reason is that the local anesthetic are very toxic to our body, especially the nervous system, which affect everything. Strong drug reaction, emotional upset, emotional trauma, immunizations, flying, all medications, trauma, car accident, even if you didn't break anything, dental work, to mention some of the main ones. Why I'm telling you this? For the simple reason that if you understand there is energetic trauma, the energetic trauma weakens the body. So the 2 things happen. First, in the short term, let's say you broke a bone or you have trauma, you have surgery, your body is weaker energetically. So it'll take you longer to heal and recover. In addition to that, it obviously increases your risk of infection, complication, other systems that were weak, whether you knew or didn't know, fell apart, got to the maximum tolerance of what they can handle, and you became sick and non-related thing direct to the surgery. So that's one, the short-term effect. Long-term effect, that even when you heal, the energetic blockage or damage, which actually it's a comparable term, stays in your body. This, in a nutshell, blocks the communication in your body, and on the long run add up to the development of disease because your body is working less efficiently, and the normal natural ability for the body to heal itself goes down. Give you an example. Most people don't realize cancer is a normal thing. We all have cancer. Our body takes care of it. No big deal. Okay, when they did autopsies on young healthy people that died from accident, 60% is cancerous cell in the kidney. Does it mean 60% will get cancer in the kidney? No. Your body takes care of it. Your immune system takes care of it. Traumatic event weakens your body, and processes that normally keep you healthy, no matter what happened, bad bacteria, cancer, it's no big deal. It's nothing. Eventually cause the body to be weak enough that it cannot make it up anymore, and then disease develops. So you always from trauma have long-term effect. This is really important to understand for the simple reason, because there is a way to solve this issue, to correct this energetic effect of the trauma. So you can do it on different levels. Very simple one is homeopathic remedies like arnica, very simple remedy that you can take. I give high potency immediately after any trauma or surgery. If you have local degenerative disease, there's another OP, another homeopathic remedy that you have to get from health practitioners, not available to the public. If you just take those two, after you will recover much, much faster. It's really simple, accessible, at least the arnica. And there are some others that you have to know more specifically that can help your body recover. For example, you have eye trauma or eye surgery, you want to think about euphrasia, which is another homeopathic remedy, and so forth. So that's simple, and anybody can learn and have it. I give it all my patients that I know ahead of time. Many patients just buy to have it handy in case of acute trauma. They don't have to wait to get it from me. Biosyntony is energetic regenerative technology from France, which I'm going to cover next lecture. And this is the technology that we use to mitigate electromagnetic and radio frequency or microwave pollution, but we also use it to regenerate the body energetically with natural wave. This is one of the most dramatic effects of biosyntony, because all my patients know that as soon as, if it's acute, obviously they just let me know and come as soon as possible, but if they come after dental work or surgery or any trauma that I listed, and we do the biosyntonic regeneration for that issue, you see amazing thing. I have 4 cases over the last 10 years that had 4 wisdom teeth removed. They'll knock you out for a week. I know it did me when I did it when I was in medical school. They got treated properly with the homeopathy and biosyntony. Next day, no swelling, no pain, they're back to work. And to the amazement of the dentist, I couldn't believe they didn't need any narcotic medications. So that's another modality. Another wonderful modality is nutripuncture, which using tablets made from sugar and different combination of minerals, and it's actually like acupuncture, but instead of putting needle, you just chew on this, and they open the meridians and energy in organs and specific meridians according to Chinese medicine. This is also have amazing results. I've been using it now for almost 2 years. One of the most exciting modalities, because what interesting happened is that all your emotional trauma, for example, divorce of your parents, somebody died on you, rape, sexual abuse, that are very, very strong traumatic blockages that you almost always carry for the rest of your life and eventually contribute to illness many, many years later. You can with nutripuncture, not only with acute like trauma, but you can actually address this issue. And all you really do, you correct the body energetically, these blockages for specific issue, and people usually immediately can feel amazing difference. And the beauty is that rather than going to psychologists for months and years, often it helps, sometimes not. This works immediately and it's totally non-invasive. So it's another also demonstration how you're blocking energetic trauma or energetic blockages, and not only that you improve physically, but improve emotionally, mentally in an amazing way. So it's another modality which is very helpful to learn. You can buy the book Nutripuncture and learn yourself and use it yourself to a certain degree, but you can use it in deeper degree from emotional trauma as well in a very effective way. So what happens is when you do that, not only that you heal exponentially faster. I've seen fractured kids with fracture that it was nice because in most cases in acute fracture and trauma you do the biosynchrony session and within 20-40 minutes you already feel much better, more movement, less pain and swelling. But this kid in 2 weeks was doing so well that the orthopedic doctor decided to do an x-ray because he couldn't understand how it's getting well so fast, and there was no sign of fracture. To his amazement, the x-ray not only showed totally normal. Normally you will have for weeks what we call callus, which is this bone scar that is formed from there wasn't even a callus or in a bone scar, to his amazement. So that just shows you what energy correction. So not only you heal much faster, but even the more important thing sometimes, the long-term effect will be prevented, like headaches after trauma or emotional issue, all kind of things that can happen. That if you can do it right away, you'll never know. Like people develop back problems after falling or things like that. If you correct it energetically when it's, so to speak, hot, energy balance basically accelerate something very dramatic, the natural healing processes. And the sooner you do it, the better it is. Now, it's never really too late, like we do in Nutripuncture, but the sooner you do it, the better it'll be preventatively and the speed of healing. So that's really very interesting and important. So if you want to learn more about biosynchrony Nutripuncture, you can contact me, and I'll also be giving more lecture. I'm going to cover biosynchrony the next time. If time permits, I'll talk also about Nutripuncture. As I said before, emotional, mental, spiritual issue, simply known as stress, are the most important part of illness or any problem in your life. And when you address them, you can leverage healing to the point of literally miracles. I've seen so many wonderful things happening that I'll be, even in acute trauma, by the way, just working on consciousness, when people learn the right tools, I've seen amazing things that you would never believe unless I've seen it by myself. As I say, subconscious issues that cause energy block, basically, are always there unless you have saint parents and you grew up in saintly and perfect society. Fortunately, probably nobody is there because we have to learn a lesson. All these things create blockages, and if they haven't been resolved or integrated, and interesting that often we say, oh yeah, we forgive this person, no problem. I find it from the processes, energetic processes and healing modalities I use, that even when people are sure, oh, we forget that person, when you test them objectively, it's very rare they really resolve the issue and forgave the person that hurt them, which obviously create negative emotion and energy blocks. Unlike what most people believe, it's not really complicated things, but if you understand that this is really the essence of healing and one of the most important aspects of healing, you can save yourself a lot of suffering because it'd be much easier to heal, and you realize that all suppressive therapy, while can help you and maybe save your life, as I mentioned before, actually suppress your consciousness because they don't allow your awareness to expand. They actually create more blockages that don't help the old blockages to be released. Anytime you block the energy, and again, a good way to describe it is that conventional medicine, when you resist the body or poison your body, even though it gives you relief of symptoms in the short term, because of the additional blocks or suppression, which again, it's a nice word to energetic block that can be established in different organs in your body according to the specific characteristic and predisposition of your body. Later, you create yourself more severe form of illness. And so on, which eventually, look at old people, many have serious illnesses, aging, senility. All is caused by the same factors. If you resolve the underlying issues, whether it's energy block, emotional, physical, and all the things we discussed, you automatically, it will result in faster healing, better health physically, but also emotionally and mentally, longevity. And if you believe in the Eastern tradition on the term karma, it'll improve your karma anyway. all the other things that resist your body, that actually with good intention works against it, in most cases, they will have the opposite effect of the beneficial effects I'm describing. So, again, your consciousness lasts forever. This is a very important part of it, your emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. Your consciousness lasts forever. If you don't believe, I respect that. Some people believe there's nothing happen after you pass on. You'll find out, so don't worry about it. Your body lasts its lifetime, and it doesn't mean your body is not important because it doesn't last forever. However, believe me, it's much nicer and great while it's healthy as well. The conclusion is be good to yourself and take care of both. They're both important. Talking about dealing with the emotional issue, as most people think it's complicated, impossible, nothing could be further from the truth. Over the years since I was involved with this and I taught thousands of people, I used to do training that I trained people for like 7-10 days from 8 to 10 hours a day, and I've seen miracles. People come with cancer coming out without. I stopped doing it years ago, and I've seen a lot of miracles, but the truth is there are ways to do it without doing that. As long as you have 100% intention commitment and take action and take the time, you can do the same thing yourself. And there's many, many extremely simple ways to do that. And I encourage all my patients, and those that do it, you typically see much, much faster healing and more dramatic healing potentially. Again, I want to reiterate, if it's not your cup of tea, you can relate to it, don't worry about it. I've seen people that didn't do that and still got well because your body and your mind are so wonderful beyond your current awareness. However, if you can't do it and it makes sense, I encourage you to do it, because there are many, many self-help tools, which I mentioned briefly to you. Again, I'll do hopefully soon a whole lecture on this subject. It's very, very important. And of course, there are some holistic psychologists like bioenergetic that are very, very good and can help you a lot in healing. So get professional help. Hopefully you can find a really good one. My belief is that many conventional psychologists, like conventional medicine, they have good intention and they may do some good, but they didn't have full understanding of consciousness, how it really works beyond the conventional model. And those, in most cases, not all, probably less helpful, but there's certain healing modality, not only psychological, that could be very, very helpful, including energetic modalities. Incidentally, one of the most amazing modalities is what I mentioned, a nutripuncture, because nutripuncture, you can solve amazing things literally with short period of time. It's so amazing that you don't just guess, it's pretty much obvious, but you can test the person energetically if they need it, and then you give them the sequence of the nutripuncture, and immediately, instantaneously, in most cases, they feel better. There is big shift. So they realize they don't have to guess that it's helpful. So that's very interesting. And there are obviously other modalities. I don't profess to know all of them, but I use a bunch of them that I cannot talk in this scope of meeting about them. But let me assure you that many things, you just have to find the right thing for you. There are several tools that are available free. Effortless healing visualization. It's an enough means visualization. Very easy to learn. And once you listen to it a few times or read the text and do it yourself and experience it, you don't need to listen to it anymore. You just do it yourself. And this puts you in an energetic space. Because remember, your emotional state of mind, good, relaxed, peaceful, loving, etc., which anybody can learn. Okay, some people do it more easily than others, but it doesn't matter. Anybody can do it. I guarantee you, if you do it 10 minutes of every hour, or anytime you're bothered by something, or do it even, you can learn to be in this space of being when you talk to people, when you drive, you will do miracles in your life. Categorically, I totally can assure you. The other one that I have on my website called Self-Help Project, I just briefly explain. It's again very simple process, self-explanatory, just read the text. And the idea is if you let go of any judgment of any situation, you stop resisting it. So if somebody bothers you, politician, your mother-in-law, your wife, I don't care who, make a decision, put the intention, that's how you create, that you let go of any judgment of that person, that issue. It's not good, bad, right, wrong. If you have illness, it's not good, bad, it is what it is. And once you do that consistently, intentionally, you release a lot of the automatic resistance we have, like I'm a victim, subconscious program, often also conscious, and you stop resisting. It opens your energy. You open your mind, your heart. It opens you the possibility of finding the right solution for you, opening up to things that you would refuse to see before that will have the solution for you. Because from bigger perspective, every problem have a solution. And there's always solutions that are easier and faster, but sometimes we're so close-minded, our awareness, and I explain it more in other lectures which are already posted in my book, that it's right under your nose, but you're not open enough to see it. When you wake up and expand your awareness, all of a sudden, things that you wouldn't even look at, you find out, hey, that's my solution. Solve your problem. Finished. You understand? So that's another aspect of that. So that's from my website. I have a book, Unconditional Healing, which I wrote. It's the results of working many, many years, even before I was in this full-time practice in '89, which I do a lot of physical things and a lot of holistic modalities. That's a result of working many years. It basically explains how you create your reality, explain logically and simply why you're not a victim. And you're not a victim, there's really nothing that cannot potentially change. Obviously, it includes your health, and also gives you, in the last part of the book, very simple tools that you can heal yourself. I had people heal themselves from cancer just using the tools in the book. I have visualization CD. That's how I started my career, and I'll tell the story elsewhere. I have people heal themselves from cancer just listening to visualization CDs. It basically puts you in an energetic state that it's healing, and then a lot of things, the potential for healing is really unlimited. So you can explore them, and there are many, many other things which we don't have time to cover. Another thing I really like that can be helpful, you go to thework.com. It's a very simple method which is logical and intellectual that can explore and release stress and negative stuff from the past. You can see a lot of videos on YouTube that explain the process. You can do it yourself. I can also teach my patient, if they're willing, I can actually show them how to use this simple process and take any situation which is stressful and release the judgment and the resistance, which is really only the problem. Because if you let go of resistance, everything, all the solution will come to your doorstep and come to your awareness. So when you do any of the things, there are several others which are really simple. Anybody, don't have to be a philosopher or well educated. If you use them, even if you didn't believe me, it works. And I have many cases, didn't believe me, have nothing to lose. They did it, they got healed. So I encourage everybody to do that. So in conclusion, you probably all heard the old saying, if you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. Or if you always think as you always thought, you will always get what you always got. And obviously they're the same because you do things because of certain belief, conscious, subconscious. So you end not being able to change anything in your life. All you have to do to be ready. Now what you have to be ready to get out of the box. Realize you're not a victim. You know the results, whatever going on in your health or in your life, which is not perfect, it's not the results of bad luck or victimhood. There is all the things we talk about it in some details. All the things, there is a solution to everything. All you have to wake up, open your mind, don't believe me or disbelieve me, just open your mind. And unless the things that I'm saying are totally, against your conscience, against your beliefs, and they look totally terrible and dangerous, obviously, if that's what you feel, don't do that. You can believe the doctors, conventional media that tell you, do this and this will be good for you. You have the right. It just gives you a consequence. It doesn't make you better or wrong. However, if you haven't wake up or haven't wake completely up, just wake up. And when you get out of the box, there are potentially solutions to all problems. You're the one that have to take the first step, have the 100% commitment, and then there is nothing that is impossible for the good. So I'm opening now to questions.
I don't have any questions, but it's very interesting. It seems like I could relate to everything you said. So.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's nothing complicated. And if you're not sure the information I gave you today, thanks to the internet, of course there's a lot of misinformation, but it's a lot of wonderful information. And you can check it out and study further, whichever you want. On the other hand, I tell my patient, it's no more, you don't need to know how the engine of your car works to drive the car. But if you like to know how it works, it's wonderful, it's great. Nobody prevents you, but you can still drive the car. The same here. You don't need to understand intellectually, even though for many people it's helpful and interesting to justify and to motivate them. You don't have to know how your heart works for your heart to work and your lung to breathe. Your body is already a miracle, any way you look at it. So we just need to decide what will be your way to get what you need and to resolve the issues that you need to resolve or you want to resolve.
I've been writing notes, and I've got heart problems, emphysema, head trauma, spinal high blood pressure.
Okay, so let me explain. People have problems of all kinds. Now, I'm not saying, okay, call me, come and see me, I'll solve all your problem. But there are many modalities that I do. Some of them you have to come physically or find somebody that does this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, very few, if any, that does everything I do. But you can find some people that do some of the stuff. But if you're local, I can do a lot of things that will improve and possibly resolve even things like emphysema. The doctor tells you it's impossible. There's nothing that's impossible. You just have to understand what you need to do and why. And I have patients that, I wouldn't say the emphysema went away, but they would have been dead 4 years ago. And now not only they're not dead, but they're much, much better functioning and breathing than they were 4 years ago. And this lady is 87. So actually, but there is a solution. Again, there are things that you can do for yourself, things that I can do, but there is a solution. If people that are far away, I actually do telephone consultation. They can choose to come, but we can do a lot of things, give them a lot of tools and help them remotely, or they can find somebody that does something similar locally. Once you understand more details, you can pick and choose. But this presentation is like a primer and good starting point to open people's mind.
Thanks, Dr. Kamler.
You're very welcome. So thank you for attending. I encourage everybody to let people know. If you know, you have an opportunity to change. If you know or you choose not to believe and not to change, I totally respect that. But it's very sad that I've seen so people getting sick and suffering where if they knew they would have done something different. Now, those that don't want to listen, eventually, hopefully they listen. If not, I believe they have eternity to learn. No big deal, but it's really important to get the word around so at least as many as possible people can help themselves and get out of the ignorance, which is, as you can see, not good to your health and your well-being, to put it mildly.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very enlightening.
Okay, you're very welcome, and I will talk to you soon. Good evening, everybody.
Oh, thank you. Okay, good night.
Good night.